Welcome to the July 2026 episode of the Job Board Leaders Monthly Roundtable call. I am your host and perhaps chief victim of these calls because I'm the only one who's been on all of them. So have pity and endure me. I'm Stephen Rothberg. I'm the founder of College Recruiter job search site. We sort of sit at the intersection of early careers, which we define as 0 to 5 years of experience, global, we're in a couple of dozen countries, performance-based and programmatic. And if anybody can repeat all of that back 10 times quickly, then I've got a free coffee mug for you. Today, I am joined by my long-term gym friend, nemesis,
let's go with friend. Less
friend?
less suspicious, easier to fool you.
Yeah, but Jim disappointed us all by not wearing his cowboy hat. Anybody who knows Jim knows that is his usual attire, and maybe on another episode. We do these calls monthly. It's the second Thursday of every month at 11 a.m. U.S. Eastern. For most of the year, that's the equivalent of 4 p.m. in the U.K. And in India, I think it's August or something along those lines. We're going to, the format that we've been following the last several episodes is that I will talk, in this case to Jim, for roughly 20 or so minutes to kind of get the topic going, the conversation, and then I'm going to open it up for discussion. People should feel free to drop comments in if they're in a noisy place or they don't want to talk on camera or whatever, and that would be absolutely fine. For those who do want to join in, with video audio, which I encourage people to do, use the hand raise function in Google Meet, the little icon that looks like a hand at the bottom. That's really helpful because it'll help to prevent people from talking over each. Oh, thank you, Ward. First one, Johnny on the spot. Why am I not surprised? But use the hand raise function. It'll keep kind of the conversation orderly, and we help to prevent some of the talking over. Also in the comment section, for networking purposes, if anybody, drop your name, where you're connecting from, your LinkedIn URL, your ATM password, your banking information, whatever you'd like. The conversation that we're going to have today is going to be focused largely around not just Indeed, but around the issue of candidate data. How much of it is real? How much of it is fake? Are these fake people? Are these actually fake candidates? And we're going to dig into that. Jim is known in the industry, I think, by his nickname, the Indeed Whisperer. I don't know, Jim, if you would agree with this or not, but I think I've always sort of felt like Indeed is one of those organizations which is, for our industry, very large. And as a result, very few people there would really know all the different things that are going on. And that's just inevitable in a large organization. I've seen the same with others in our industry that are also large, the Appcasts of the world, right? I mean, if you're talking to a tech person at Appcast, they're not going to have as good a handle on pricing as if you're talking to a salesperson, and the same is true at Indeed. Jim seems to have his finger in the pulse of just about every area there. So I thought that nobody could be better for this topic. So Jim, why don't we start off, tell people a little bit about, kind of who is Jim, where, other than from your parents with a loving household, where did you come from? How did you get into this weird industry? And what work do you do?
Well, I definitely didn't fall into it. I chose it because it's noble, and putting people to work is the best thing you can do. So I don't apologize for being a recruiter. I'm a recruiter. I'm a headhunter. That's what I started as. Staffing, recruiting, headhunting, corporate, RPO, inside director. I've done all of them over the last 25 years. They are vastly different, as you guys all know. It's not the same, but I've been fortunate it's a fascinating industry. We kind of grew up around it, so I know the tech. 6 or 7 years ago, I went inside after running a marketing firm for 12 years and headhunting at the same time, and I ended up getting my hands on the Marriott database, and then big client RPOs. So millions of dollars are running through my fingers for advertising. And because I really knew Indeed resume really well, I knew how it was built. We kind of all grew up with it. I just got to figure out how it worked. And most of the time, the problem was something at the TA level. So I started talking about the Indeed Whisperer, ended up on Chad and Cheese. Well, now people from Indeed call me. So now I really do know a lot more than I did before, because let me tell you, when I first walked into job boards, guys, I didn't know nearly what I thought that I knew. It's because it's such a big industry. Like, then I worked with the AIM group for a bit. And so that's part of the problem, is we're always looking for straight answers. And the answer is always, it depends. How big is your client? Where are they from? What country? What tech stack? It's hard for the directors inside because they're recruiters. They're not tech, finance, legal, and other people. And so as it grows, they've asked all of us as vendors to take on that, basically their own problems. I think that's starting to turn, as you see a lot of head of TAs being hired, and they immediately get a director of talent operations, and their job is to fix the job postings, fix the spend, because CFOs want to spend. The AI burst, the bubble's almost gone. We know it's not being replaced. They have to hire people, and they're not ready for it. Real opportunities for us, because Indeed is pulling in one direction. The real question for us comes, how do we teach this giant industry to do better without doing all the work for them unpaid? So that's what I do these days. Is I go in and do the internal work when we work with job boards. So you get clean feeds, jobs aren't open for 3 months, because that leads into discussion. What is a ghost resume? What is a ghost candidate? Everybody talks about it, but the information on LinkedIn and other places that we haven't really defined what it is, and you can't go to Forbes or Business Insider. So the question is, what is a ghost resume? When is it real? When is it false? We don't categorize it and understand what's happening with Indeed. How can we take care of that for our own boards? Because everyone's hearing this message. They're all hearing it. It's like saying AI is going to take all of your jobs. It doesn't matter, not if they are. They're hearing it and they're acting on it. We need to respond to this issue of ghost resumes, because candidates have lost their minds over it. And it's just a bad behavior all around. We have to figure out how to fix that.
Awesome. So when you and I were talking in the green room before people joined us, I think we were starting to kind of just put ghost resumes or that issue into some different buckets. Right. So one bucket, and the person that I know that I think has contributed massively to this conversation is Andrew Godonsky. And he does a lot of security work for the US government. I think he's like with CSIS or whatever the acronym is. But basically, to stereotype it, North Korean bad actors taking on the persona, fake name, identity, credentials, etc. In some cases, hoping to get hired as like a remote developer, and then they get access to your systems, and corporate espionage is inevitable. I think it was 2 summers ago at College Recruiter, maybe he was a finalist for a staff accountant position that we had. And there were just some things that just didn't smell right. And we ended up not hiring her, maybe dodged a bullet, but maybe she was real. And just, there was just like some weird stuff, but it was enough to kind of scare us away. But I know that there have been other organizations. So that's kind of like one bucket, right, Jim?
That's a real thing, and that's underreported. Everybody in clearance or in IT, and I got a buddy who goes through that. I mean, they're actually going after the candidates as well. It is full on deep fake, and they've got so sophisticated. It used to just be fake resumes and profiles. Then it moved on to using fake imagery. So you're sitting and it's like a filter that's not you, or you're having ChatGPT read something off to get into to steal accesses. Now they're finding Americans who are not particularly bright and using them to get hired, doing the work, paying them, taking 80%. So now the American citizens making money doing nothing, but their name and social security is being used by a North Korean hacker. Absolutely occurring, guys. We've seen it live. It is, but that's those specific roles. And so the problem is you hear those and they go, oh, everybody's fake. So we know. But you should know, if you don't Barry Heard, how easy it would be for me to spin up with like $5,000, enough profiles to ruin any one of our clients with fake resumes. There's no way for them to stop, to track it. I mean, it is insane what's going on, and the number of scams exist. So we have to break apart from the bad actors, and they've come up with stuff. My buddy is hysterical whenever he gets a note from a recruiter. He says, "I'm happy to start, but first say something bad about Kim Jong-un." And about half of them drop off immediately. You're like, wait, what? So now we've got all this operational security It's Cold War level stuff. Like, let me see your hand. Okay, now put a pin. Okay. You follow up. It's like, put a hat on, because if you put a hat on and you have a background, the brims disappear. So there's all this stuff that you could see, but then everybody's using their own. Oh, I'm in the office. I'm following up. Like Mark's not sitting at home. We know he's on a beach. So, but you couldn't tell. So it's important that we understand there are fake ones, and that is something all you have to be careful about. And the hacking is insane. And the new frontier models for all the complaints, they do a great job at digging into your systems. So cybersecurity, which Andrew points out, is a problem, but that is a specific sector. The bigger problem is, because everyone's like, oh, well, who are these fake companies? So I've got one of my companies is imaging technologist, and we go, boy, just so funny. We dug through, when I first started using Indeed, 90% of our applicants were just trash. There was no reason. These are certified radiation techs, X-ray, mammography. There's no reason for you to click on that. So we were sure there was fraud. We fixed a bunch of stuff and how we push jobs out. And I got it to about 65% of them are real, and 35% of them, they're still clicking and they're saying no on the applications. And then maybe another 10% are just ignoring it. They're welders or somebody wants to see your resume, stuff we see all the time. But that means 50% of my applicants are total wasted money. So half of my budget's thrown away. It's like the old days of advertising. So I called those people. I actually went in and did an audit because I wanted to see, because they mostly are coming from Indeed, and I wanted to know, are they real?
Called the candidate.
I searched them. Okay. I audited 200 people. I set up an agent, went through, I looked for all their names, and I called them, and they were all real. Every single one from Indeed was real. They were idiots. I mean, they were. You don't apply for jobs like that, but they didn't care. They're like, oh, and that's a real problem for us, because what's occurring is, one of the reasons Indeed wants to move to the smart apply for everything, it's not like Chad says, where they're just trying to steal money. That's not it at all. It's that candidate behavior is so bad that they're hoping to tell them, push them where they need to go, because most candidates are searching jobs near me, jobs that pay this much. And they're just clicking, hoping someone sees the resume. And they're doing it with Easy Apply 500, 1,000 times. They're not ghost resumes. They're just really poorly sourced, and there's not a way to fix them. So that's a second category. Real people, and then what can they do? They can go into AI, change their resume. Boom, they've changed their resume up a little bit. And that's a different story, because you have real people doing that and fake people doing that. Let me show you what happens. So there's a third category, is real people changing their resumes. So back in January, I was talking to a guy, and he sends a note that says, I'm seeing something funky in Indeed smart sourcing. And what happened is, we were searching for names, and all these salespeople were coming in, and they all said exceeded sales target by XX%, or managed X people, or won blank award in blank quarter. I'm not using that as a category, the exact text of that, XX%. And it was growing at first with 10,000 resumes.
Let me just interrupt you. I just want to be clear, because you and I have talked about this, and I know what you mean. I want to make sure everybody else does.
I'll share my screen. I'll show it.
Okay, cool.
I got it up right now.
And for those who maybe just started listening to the audio, or walking their dog or whatever, it's not, when Jim says XX%, he literally means that the resume has XX in it, and not like Jason Gorham's like talent XI, like it's talent with X inappropriately. Or Chad and Cheese will say, it's like with next, it's two X's, not the triple X, which is something else altogether. But yeah, so we can see your screen, smart sourcing.
So this is a smart sourcing. When we search the XX%, I tracked this over time. It grew from 100,000 and started accelerating, as all AI does. At one point, they were dumping 50,000 new resumes a week into the Indeed resume that were real people. The UI, when you launch it, it says, oh, you're in sales, you should pick one of these 6 bullet points. And the problem is, they made it so easy, people would just click, and it would say exceeded sales target XX%, instead of modifying and editing their profile. So this wasn't an AI problem. It was a design problem that Indeed ran into. And we pointed it out. We're like, you're about to poison your whole database. It also is for nurses. So everybody's resume is looking different, and they were pushing it. So now we've found them in our own ATSs. Product manager for Indeed, the poor guy, he has the same thing. He used the same tool, exported it to LinkedIn, and now his target says exceeded sales targets XX%. That's how much it was a blind spot.
Right. So these are real people applying to real jobs and using real AI in a really bad way.
And what's crazy about it is you could hire these people. It looks fake though. So imagine handing a manager, or imagine one of your people, they go to Indeed, they export it, and they export the resume up to your job board. And then that gets sent over to one of your clients. They're like, why are you, that's almost as bad as a Metro PCS bill. Why are you allowing this obvious? I used to get those all the time. It cracked me up. Like the resume was you don't know if they messed it up or were just fake, but these get uploaded to your system. And now your client goes, this is obviously fake. It's a draft template. It's a real person, bad resume. So we have to pick those different ones and understand what's happening with each one of those instead of just going ghosting. It's real. And then of course there's people who just, they're making stuff up. A lot of the young kids, you got to realize we've trained an entire generation now to think that the task is the job. And I'm not burning on it because this is management fault. We talked about this 25 years ago, Stephen, about how we're not training our seed corn. So it's people who think getting the job is the point, and it's a game. And what do you do with games? You grind through, you cheat. The point is winning. The point is not learning, getting the job, and expanding. So we have trained candidates to just click, and then they become, prince and princesses. Oh, we can do whatever we want. This is a real problem, and we can't even decide on what ghost resumes are. That thing with Indeed should have scared the crap out of them. I do know at a certain point, I just raised the alarm internally. I just told everybody I know, listen, please. And luckily, there's still some good people over there. They were dug into it. They couldn't pull it back because if that had gone on, it poisons your database. If this happens to your database, your job board's dead because there's no roll. You have to roll it back. I don't know. We don't keep tape backups anymore. So what do you do when you told your people to make the changes? Because you can't change their resumes. They have to change them.
So I think it's really clear we're using Indeed as an example here, right? The same problem applies to a lot of other organizations in our industry, but they're kind of like king of the hill, and so it's easy to sort of see, and we can all relate to what they're doing. Give me an idea of like the scale of the problem. Like how many thousands of these XX resumes do you think that there are?
750,000 on Indeed as of January, and they shut off the tool, but they can't revert it, so they're still in there. But also, that's just one category. That's just people with sales on their resume. We caught the same thing for nurses. Now, that's not a big deal because the whole nurse job description thing is they either do the job or they don't.
Okay.
But how many others it's set up where they're making things up? And remember, when it's built, it becomes a problem for sorting too. So if you're using an AI to somehow sort these, OpenAI likes OpenAI created resumes. Cloud likes cloud res. So if you're using it to source of any kind, all these tools that are supposed to even just screen and sort or decide where people are going, every single one of them favors itself, which means people who use these, they're not ghost resumes. Let's call them badly adjusted AI resumes. We'll have to come up with some word for it, Stephen. Those are getting pushed into your systems and getting preferential treatment for all those people who rush to AI as opposed to a real resume. So it's kind of like I don't correct my typos anymore on LinkedIn because it looks more real, and why bother about it? No one cares. But I give you grammar. I got no issue with that. It actually becomes a positive thing.
That's your story and you're sticking to it?
I just stopped correcting them. I don't care anymore.
Okay. One thing that's interesting
we've been writing for years, but I don't have to edit anymore. So
yeah. So okay. So I think we've covered kind of the malicious, the North Korean, the adversarial. Probably corporate espionage is probably the motivation there, whether that's stealing trade secrets, whether that's trying to hack into or get access to your bank account. It's nefarious, bad actors. Second group is the real candidate applying to a real job with a poorly written AI assisted resume. And you could get a template off of some website and just not adjusted as much, but the AI is doing that at scale.
That's the problem is the scale allows you, instead of one resume, it's 1,000. So if 5% of the population is using AI to rewrite resumes and apply to 1,000 jobs, in less than 6 months, half of the resumes are all that 5%. So there's an arms race going on. You need to. I mean, you shouldn't be applying for 200 jobs. So there's this whole thing, and that volume is throwing back. TA can't deal with it. Like, there's no way for them to address and deal with it. The recruiters have been cut down. There are no tools that fix that. So now you've got this premium on everyone's looking for validation, verification. And ironically, the two best ways to verify is if you're a staffing firm and you've talked to somebody. So staffing firms and headhunters are exploding because they don't have ghost candidates. They've talked to them. The other one is your database. Prior about 2020, everybody in your database is probably real. So now companies are doing this badly. They're just blasting out email blasts saying, hey, you want to talk to us again? But like even IBM once paid Seek Out like $100,000 to go through their databases and update just using LinkedIn. Because the second that every ATS is old data. The second you get hired, your resume starts to age. And your job description ages too. So there's a real value in having real people, and you can prove that they're real, and that'll be part of it. Not with verification, not with Clear, not with blockchain, but if you know your people are real, everybody before 2020, you can contact them. That's a huge value too. Everybody coming from now, I know that sounds crazy, but I have watched this happen with bot swarms. It takes 10 minutes. 10 minutes. It's not some point of it, but that is terrifying what they can do. You're not a DDoS, full profiles. We're seeing this with the new headhunter scam where people steal images of recruiters on LinkedIn that are real and pull the number. And then it says like Steven.Rothberg.senior@gmail. And then they send you a long email that's perfect for you and has this great money. Oh my God, I'm working with Frito-Lay and Capital One. No one's doing that. And there's no way that happens. They don't even use recruiters like that. But then, you should rewrite your profile. Should I send you to a resume service? And then it's a scam. It's fascinating. And that we have to look at that side because candidates are getting those roles and even the sophisticated ones. Hey, do a Teams meeting. Well, I'm going to hijack your piece of it, or buy an Apple Card or pay $200. All the old scams. So we've got scams on the candidates, less so on the employer side, but we have the problem. We actually have to hire, right? So we have a different kind of scale problem. And if we don't define it correctly, and then your CEO hears something or somebody goes to a conference because it's easy to talk about how bad everything is. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I can't stand when they talk about ghost resumes. I'm like, we exist for a reason. We're not 70% of what you do is not fraud. I hope so. I hope none of you are 70% fraud because how dumb is that?
And then another, just before we open up to the floor to discussion, I want to make sure we also talk about kind of this third bucket. And I can't have a conversation with a talent acquisition person at a large company where it doesn't come up. And it's not a college recruiter issue or an Appcast or an Indeed issue. It is just an issue in hiring, and that is every resume looking the same.
Oh yeah.
Right. So real candidate up, they get a real job description. One of my adult kids just went through a job search, and I was actually shocked at how well the employers treated her. They almost all got back to her, mostly small, environmental. And maybe that had something to do with it. And she uses AI every day, but hates it, like most members of Gen Z. It's kind of like you're driving along some highway and the speed limit is much lower than it should be. You know you have to do it because the penalties are going to be worse, but you still don't like it. It's the rule. It's the way it works. And so you just do it. But what she found was that she would take her resume and upload it to Gemini or OpenAI or whatever it was that she was using and kind of match it up against the job description. And it actually did a pretty good job. I looked at it.
Does a great job now.
And it really wasn't making shit up. There wasn't the hallucinations, but you could just see the language. This is not her voice.
Yes.
And when I hear employers talking about all the resumes are the same, like, I think that's another issue. Now, do you include those, Jim, in the ghost resume issue?
I wouldn't call them ghost
Indeed?
resumes. And it is different than the one. So that it's like a spectrum. You have fully made up that have no business doing it. You have ones that are just fixing it. And then you have people it's hard to write a resume, but no one ever told them why, or they haven't done anything. Early careers, they haven't done anything.
Yeah.
The big problem with the AI, though, is it means people aren't paying attention to what they're doing. What we're finding out with a lot of jobs is a lot of jobs weren't worth doing. And that's what AI has exposed. It's a mirror back in if your whole job, there was a recruiter that we just had to fire because he could not stop using ChatGPT to send messages and read messages. You're like, so you're not doing anything, but you've completely outsourced your brain. That person, when they create it, is that a ghost resume? No, but it is something that the more people begin to utilize those, the point of a resume is to write it and have your voice match the interview. But the problem is the job descriptions are poor too. Like the job descriptions aren't built correctly, and very few they're not written correctly. So how could AI actually pick the right one? We know this, but no candidates know it. Like they actually think that's an accurate job description, not copy pasted from some template from 10 years ago. So that's a whole different problem, but it does follow the same thing. What is real? What have you done? What are you training? What are they looking for? And for some reason, we're still struggling with that. We think AI's matched it, but it's just matching crap. And the lawsuits are coming for those too. I mean, think of it this way: if you get sorted, I apply all the time. I know people, but I don't use those channels because I'm not fake applying, but I'm testing some things as they're doing it. And I know I get dumped because one, I'm a founder, so I have my own company. That means you're dumped off, and it's just there's got to be some stuff sorting and ranking. And the other one is I'm clearly over 40. And if you use AI to track what's happened in the past, so anybody's trying to determine what they've done in the past, automatically, because everybody knows you don't hire people over 40. It's the age bias of 50 and fired from 25 years ago. So now you've got this situation where if you're applying, it's kind of a waste of your time. Everybody under 30 that I talk to a lot of kids. They hate Indeed. They think it's career builder from 10 years ago. Insurance scams, cattle calls, and they can click on that quick apply. They don't even know what they applied for. So when someone calls, they have no clue who's calling or what the job. Why would they? They used an AI doing it makes that even worse. So it's going to be a different problem. It's good that she's thinking through it, but candidates that sound like they're ghost resumes because they never actually did the work, that's a third bucket. It's a weird third bucket because I don't know how you fix that. Probably AI education, but that's not going to.
So just a lighthearted comment, and then I'm going to go to open it up to the group, is that what you said about the person who's like using ChatGPT for basically everything, it reminded me, I think it was a movie from maybe like 1986 or something. So those of us of a certain age and a certain geekiness, the movie, I think it was called Office Space. There was the guy who was meeting with the consultants and they're asking him what he does. And basically he's like an intermediary between the customers and the engineers, but he really adds no value.
So you physically deliver the hand paper. No, I have an assistant who takes it down to the engineers.
Exactly. So
what do you do? I'm a people person.
Anybody who's not familiar with that movie and who somehow is old enough to remember fax machines, it is a watch that you have to do this weekend.
Shot in Irving, Texas, by the way.
Oh, well, I liked it anyway.
See it, the first scene, you're like, oh my God, that's Dallas.
Yeah, I liked it anyway, Jim. So anybody who wants to ask a question, ask a question, share a story, contribute a comment or whatever. At the bottom of the video is the little hand raise. Hit that. Paul Toomey, Geographic Solutions, you are up. Thanks for doing so.
Okay. Now, I was going to point out that not only are the resumes the same, but the interview questions are the same. I can anticipate the question before the person asks it because they're all using the same AI to generate, questions that they should ask. So
in college, they pass their courses this way. I have a cousin. He's a double major in physics and material sciences, but for every one of his survey courses, they had early access. He doesn't know heart science. Yeah, I just had the AI write it. I'm looking at him like, why are you paying for college and having the AI write it? Because it was just a checkbox. That has moved on. In fact, when you look at if you have kids going to college, we actually used to create applications, just like a job application. It took a long time. You'd be careful because it took a lot of time, there's money to submit them, all that stuff. Now there's one app. You put in your application and what can you do? Blast it off to 15 schools. So even before they're going to school, they're now taught the point is to beat the system, not do the actual work. And it's the same thing when someone comes up clever. I got an email, the BD's like this as well. I got an email that said, it's a great open line. I'm seeing a pattern. It's a great subject line. If you've ever in marketing persuasion, it's fantastic. The problem is when I look at it, the emails coming in for solicitation, when 6 of them say, I'm seeing a pattern, or you go to LinkedIn and you look at someone's written stuff and 8 of their last 9 posts, I saw this yesterday, I'm seeing a pattern. Even though it's great, you have no clue what everybody else is saying. So you think you're doing good. You don't realize we've all heard this before. And of course, we've heard all these things before. But it's a great point, Paul. They sound the same and they don't know that they don't sound the same. They just think it's a game. They think it's a trick.
But you can feel the backlash coming, right? This pushback starting to happen against,
Well, bad interview practices. I kind of blame the interviewers for those, but no one trains the interviewers either.
Yeah. So, Paul, question: for those not familiar with Paul's business, you basically power the workforce centers, what some other people would call like the unemployment offices. For it's what, like 85% of the U.S. Population, something like that.
About 40 states and territories.
Okay, but representing like the percentage of people, right? It's like you have amazing visibility into millions and millions of people who are unemployed and actively looking for work. What are you seeing as far as their use of AI? Because you just mentioned backlash. Are you sort of seeing candidates, employers using the system that are pushing back on this? Like,
I mean, when I'm talking about backlash, I think it's hard. It's a little harder to see that within the system. Clearly, a lot of people are. I mean, we provide the ability to use AI in a lot of states. I'm more talking about the things where you see, the commencement address at Arizona State or whatever, and completely booed. In fact, my daughter just graduated from University of Florida, and the commencement was given by one of the NVIDIA founders, and all he talked about AI, and it was like you could feel it. There was no kind of booing, but you could just feel the tension. So, I mean, I think I just feel it coming from that generation where they're just getting,
100% agree.
Yeah,
100%. It's exactly what's happening. You'll go in front of somebody. It doesn't matter what industry. You'll do a report. You know what you're talking about, and a CEO will drop something directly into a free version of OpenAI, and then go, "Well, what about these 7 things?" Or they'll send you a list, or there's a scope of work. Or I heard the worst one yesterday, which is supposedly, again, a lot of this stuff is fake. It's on Reddit. It's not real. But an HR director asked someone to put in a prompt in ChatGPT to ask how stable they were emotionally, which is about 4 different ways of illegal and also a terrible way to do it. I would have had fun with that one. That's where you start trading the interviewer. But there's people are doing that, and you're forced to deal with people. And the thing that they don't realize about using these kind of tools is they make you dumber and more arrogant. That's what the studies are showing. If you stop driving around, you forget not how to drive, but you don't have as good geographic knowledge. The more that you automate something, you forget how to do those things. So the more people are relying on outsourcing their cognitive thinking, their brains are literally shrinking. They're not as creative, but they're so sure of themselves. And that's a problem. So if you have a candidate put a resume into AI, they feel really good. They feel like they did it. So they're dumber and more arrogant. But then the leader is doing the same thing. So how, that's the danger that they're warning about. So that's not even ghost. That gets what's the impact of outsourcing all of your thinking? And it's through everybody. I've got 70-year-olds using LLMs for therapy, CEOs. I mean, it's insane watching what people are doing, and they don't tell you. So they're just sure because AI is smarter than me, right? This is why the Broncos won the Super Bowl in 2020. Everybody knows that. They say that. They say everybody knows that. Or it's true. They don't say I researched it. They just go, it's true. The AI told me. It is terrifying to watch.
That individual doesn't see that's the duplication that's happening, right? It looks like a great resume or looks like great interview questions. They have no idea that the employer is seeing it, multiple.
And then they're mad when they're called out on it.
Right.
Because, they thought they found a trick. Yeah. It is a real challenge. I don't know I know they're working on stuff like Jeff's doing stuff with, boom ban and profiles, but that's a hard market to build back up. How do we recreate trust? How do we how do we explain to people this ain't working that way? It's I don't have the answers to that. I have some ways to make money, but I don't have any answers for it.
So I want to circle back, Jim, to what you were saying about 700,000 resumes in the Indeed database from salespeople.
Just from people with
sales XX. So you haven't said it, but I have to guess if you start to cross over all different kinds of categories, we're talking millions.
Yeah.
We might not be talking
database.
Yeah, we might not be talking tens of millions, but I think realistically,
Because
It's
when you went in, it
it's what
basically
I'm sorry, I was over talking you. It was what percent?
50%.
50.
So
Out
that's just
of-
basic use because they left it on there and it just said, when you signed in, would you like to improve your profile?
So you
So
think
not
that
all of
50
them were as bad as XX%.
Okay.
So there were different ones, but in terms of altered resumes and profiles, you
Yeah.
can kind of track as they, so you just do the searches of profiles and resume over time. It was too easy. So you look at the numbers, that's a pretty rough estimate, but I guarantee you at least 50% of profiles use that AI to change their thing. And we don't know which ones are bad. I don't have every category to say the obvious XX%.
Yeah.
But I do know it's in nursing. I do know it's in IT. I know it's in customer service. It's in health. I mean, it is, sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad.
Yeah.
But you will find that everywhere in every category. There'll be some bad line that makes you look like you have a fake resume.
So roughly half used AI, a smaller percentage have like the XX or something similar kind of problem. The XX kind of problem, well, I think we have to be talking at least several million that are like that. And that would probably be a similar case with any of our sites that are providing an AI resume writing feature, right?
Well, this was
this
a UI
isn't an
mistake.
Indeed problem.
It was an Indeed problem. They made a UI mistake.
Ah,
AI doesn't automatically do that. In fact, it does a better job of that.
okay.
They did it where you could just click and add a profile, but it felt like it was like, oh, AI suggests you should do this. So this was a design problem that they made, which is separate because now you're teaching them to use it. And basically we use AI to fix your resume, and then the design thing, just add that. Oops. I mean, so that was pretty crazy to watch. So yeah,
Cool.
Alex and Jason.
Yeah, and just before we go there, because Anne had posted earlier and I missed it, that it's because for those who aren't seeing the comments, it's because the listings are public that resumes can be gamed toward any listing / posting. Maybe time to think about a whole new model. Absolutely. We have about 20 minutes left, Anne, and by the end of the 20 minutes, we will have that completely new model completely nailed down. We will all walk away from here and just know it's going to be glorious, absolutely glorious. Jason Gorham, you raised your hand before Alex, and we'll go to Alex. So Jason, fire away.
Hey, Jim, how are you, brother?
Hey, Jason.
Hey, you keep saying, and I don't know the resume side. I created Indeed, right? Like that's what I tell people in the wild on the job side, but I don't know the resume side. So, and I hate to retrace, but so the job gets posted. Like I want to like kind of understand how this works, right? So the job gets posted, and then do I upload a resume, and is there a matching there? And then you keep saying UI, but it's more product, right? The product people then at some point inserted AI into the, right? Like everybody did with their supply chain, Pizza Hut, all that shit, right? Like they inserted it. So there must have been a cutoff point where they told the database, hey, right? So there must have been a starting point where everything then got screwed up.
Yeah, it was about so when they used OpenAI, they partnered with OpenAI, which is the funniest thing, to partner with a company that says jobs are all going to be gone next year when your money's made off of it. But they use it for messaging and others. They actually used it. They're pretty restrained. And this is the hyper personalized. It says, hey, Steven, I see you have a job board. I have a job board thing. It's as simple as that. That message is better than most of the messaging on Indeed, because recruiters half of the recruiters out there are gone because they should be. We do this every couple of years. So like, oh, our AI messaging is better. But what happens is then they're like, okay, how do we do better matching? Because they're claiming, much like Google and Facebook did, that they have all this data on you on user behavior. But listen, if all of you click on my job to be a welder, I don't want that data. This is why they want the disposition data. So they've been training it based on people's activities, which is its own set of problem. Where the resumes is, so you upload a resume, or you build it inside, and they keep asking you to update it, because as a recruiter, when I go through a database and I see you updated your resume, I search like that. I don't want the resume I want to see when you're active, because I want you to respond to a $5.20 contact, because that's what Indeed resume is now. It's $520 a month, which is insane if you look at the price of it. So they are matching those. In this case, how do we match it even better? how do we make these look better? Because they need clean data for their algorithm.
Yeah, because
the problem is now they've smoothed it out.
They're moving into staffing. Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
So, yeah, the smoothing out, I think that's an interesting way of putting it. And I've heard that from some employers too, that if the recruiters, et cetera, that have been around for longer, like they've been in the game for more than 3-4 years now, that it used to be that if they got 50 applications for a role, that there was a huge differentiation between those resumes. Yeah. Some of them were incredibly poorly written, but there were some nuggets in there that you could see that this was actually a fantastic candidate if it was a good recruiter. Some of them were incredibly well written, but not at all appropriate for this job. They just don't have the requisite experience. And now what I hear from TA is they just all look the same. Nobody looks great. Nobody looks awful.
Yeah, but
it's
also,
all kind of a mushy middle.
Believe them, Stephen. I mean, I know they say that, but every time that's why it's painful. It's painful and takes time to dig into each one. So, I mean, sometimes go, all these people are fake, and you're like 10 fake ones, but I gave you 300 real ones. Quit crying. So I don't believe necessary.
Can they reverse this? Like they know they can't reverse it?
Because if you do, you're now changing that profile. Right. So this is why I started yelling. I'm like calling everybody I know going, you have to fix this. This will kill you. This is actually dangerous. This is you can't just reverse it because they all made the choice. You can't tell me to do something and then flip it back without some significant challenges. Yeah. They shut it off and I don't know if they told everybody or what. They don't talk of it after the fact, but yeah. they realized there was a problem, to their credit. It just, at one point, I can't talk about it, but yeah, they knew this was company threatening.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Our friend Alex Murphy from JobSync has been patiently waiting. Alex, thanks for raising your hand. Chime in, please.
So on the XX profile enhancement, you have a design problem, which is what Jim's saying, is that you have people moving too quickly. So actual humans actually moving too quickly. But it is exacerbated by AI auto applies because of the auto apply function. So that profile enhancement piece happens in the middle of your application flow. And so what ends up happening is the AI skips it because it doesn't know how to answer and respond to this, because it doesn't have the data. They don't have what my sales improvement, my nurse improvement, my save rate, et cetera. It doesn't know what the answer is. And so it doesn't have contextual understanding of what to go fix. So we trace this back.
It works.
Jason, let's let Alex continue. Sorry, Alex.
No, it's all good. We watch a job go up, and we watch a flood of resumes or applications come in with resumes that are virtually the same and often verbatim the same, because you have a bot sitting there waiting to apply, sees the new job posting, believes that a newly posted job being the first in is the most important thing. It has a high degree of match, and it's from the same kind of, call it, application assistant tool. So it's using the same CV, the same analysis. And then those are the ones that end up having the XX% problem. Right. So it is a design problem, Jim, but I think it's a design problem exacerbated and scaled by the AI apply problem.
I saw the power law. I saw it. I saw it scale in live. At first it was like a couple. Oh, this is silly. Let's talk about it. And then I saw the numbers, because it wasn't 700,000 the month before. It was about to get real bad. And that was just that one. That's the crazy part. I get why it's no different than you go to LinkedIn and you buy premium and they say, you should add these 4 skills and you'll match better, except for at scale and with design. And then, oh man. Oh, I'm saying 50%, Jason. I think that's the reality.
Yeah, Jason.
But good and bad. I mean, better resumes, but also the same. Same 7 bullet points.
Jason posted a comment for those who aren't seeing it, like, what's the total number, do you think? And yeah, and I think Jim is guesstimating that roughly half of the resumes depending upon how you define like what the problem is. So they just poorly written? Is it just generic? Does it have XX? But it sounds like Indeed's resume database has a 50% problem. Like it's
Well,
just that
It's
there
50%
is a
adjustments, which is different than problem. The actual problematic, I mean, is it bad to have it on there? It looks bad, but people still got hired from it, and they are real.
yeah.
So it's not, but what happens if you start put the absolute wrong stuff in there? That's when you start to question a fake profile. So the fact that they used it and we saw changes, but that sameness is where there's an issue, because then now you have 300, you start seeing resumes with the exact same bullet points. I mean, it's not different than template, but when half of them say the same thing,
Yeah.
you're like, wait a minute, are these real? And that causes real problems for clients.
So I had somebody say to me a couple of weeks ago, and they were half joking, but they said that this is actually, this sameness issue is actually a good thing for some people. That the ceiling, like the top candidates don't look as good. It sort of lowers their ability, reduces their ability to get hired. The worst candidates, it improves their ability to get hired. So in a weird way, this is helping this is making it easier for the worst qualified candidates to get hired. Employers are still hiring. There's still a person in that seat, but they might not be hiring the best person.
That was literally the survey that my old company did in the Philippines with 70,000
Yes.
people. They bragged about AI.
Yeah.
The worst candidates still got hired
and
stayed longer. Like, yeah, because of the worst candidates.
Yeah.
The good
So for
candidates
people,
ignored
so
it.
for people like me who are very poorly qualified for anything, this is a fantastic world. I want to point something out. A few minutes ago, Tom Chevalier from Tink posted a link in the comments. And it's a link to a GitHub article, and basically talking about the AI sameness leading to randomness in hiring. And that was kind of where I was going with this. It makes it much more difficult to distinguish between the candidates who are well qualified and those who are poorly qualified. And Paul Toomey, I see you raised your virtual hand. Fire away, please.
Yeah, I think what you're pointing out is an interesting issue, because traditionally, if you had, if you're wealthy, had a lot of money, you could pay someone to write your resume, right? So what we're seeing happening is, in a lot of ways, people are worried about, is AI equitable? It's actually so equitable that the issue that you're bringing up is happening, right? It means that everybody, you're getting everybody looking the same, and the recruiting business is not in itself equitable, right? You are trying to find out who is the best qualified. And so it's almost like people were worried that, a lot of our customers are, we just need to make sure that, that it's fair and equitable when you use AI and so on. I think it's so much so it's the other way, right? So now, I can see where it's a great advantage for those people that couldn't afford resume services and so on. They're getting that through AI.
So we had a whole panel discussion about that where we started talking about fair, and I wanted to beat everybody in the room, because the only way to be fair is exactly what Tom just posted: random. That's the only way fair works. Right. We deliberately discriminate, of course, for talent and cost and where they show up, and that's the whole point of selecting anything. There is no such thing as fairness. We pick that because it sounds right. The bigger issue isn't that, though. It isn't that just the whole idea. The internet gave everybody access to the same things, and you have the opportunity, which is very true, to get better, to learn, to use AI correctly. But here's the problem. We're not doing that. We're outsourcing all of our thinking. We're looking at it from a matching standpoint, like what's a good description, what's a good resume. We are destroying the ability of workers to actually know what a job is, what they do, follow up. They're not examining what they're doing, which makes them not only bad at interviews, but bad at jobs. It is a problem that it's that outsourced piece of it. So the more we let people do this, you can see how their work, like the guy who got fired, he cannot write. He couldn't write on his own anymore, because why would he? I'll just let AI do it. I'm like, oh, well, that's good, because there are people with dyslexia who can't do it. That's true, but then everybody does it. They're all dumber and more arrogant. So it's not just access that's the problem. It's what are people actually doing for their jobs? Do they understand their jobs? Do we value it? Do we manage it? It's far beyond the job board problem, but it is a massive problem. It's basically Wall-E in space brought down to here. If you're not doing anything, humans bring value to work, period. When you're just doing tasks, the question is, should you be doing them at all? Well, then now I don't need all those people. Look at the layoffs. They were all overhired. Now they're laid off. Have you talked to some of those folks? I know recruiters 12 years in the industry with giant names on their resume that I wouldn't trust to recruit anything, because they didn't recruit. They were just resume sorters. 12 years in, $150,000. They're not recruiters. That should terrify people, because, I mean, it's good if you work hard, but I don't know the answer to that, because I don't know how to train people. And I don't know how to educate everybody at the same time when we can't even agree what a ghost resume is. Yeah. Sorry, I'm off my soapbox.
No, Swap. And I have to wonder too, some of the complaints that we'll hear as an industry from employers about, that everybody looks the same and that everybody now looks to be well qualified. I wonder how much 10 years ago it was really the same people applying, and it was easier for the recruiters to knock a whole bunch of people out because their resumes were poorly written. There was a typo, there was something in there, some kind of like real arbitrary choice where recruiters were they were spending a lot more time finding reasons to eliminate people from the hiring process than to include them. And I have to wonder how many of the resumes that recruiters are receiving are from people who used to write a resume that did not accurately communicate their skill level. Like they undervalued themselves. If I'm struggling to find the right words for it, but it was so poorly written, you couldn't tell that they were qualified. They actually were qualified.
But here's the thing: we used to look at them.
Maybe the AI is now helping those people.
I don't think it's helping them at all, because we used to do. Here's the thing: you look at enough resumes. This is the problem with the new recruiters. They're just being handed things on the screen. You look through thousands of resumes. I know lots of you guys have done this. You start to see patterns. You can tell when somebody went to a trade school. You can see when they went to IBM. You can tell what decks. Because recruiters physically looked at it and then talked to people, it was okay if the resume wasn't good, which is why we'd go and try to rewrite it, because the patterns showed themselves. And you're like, you know what? You're a lot more qualified. You think you have a bad resume, and we help you with it. We'll get you over. I know you can do the job because I talked to you. Now it's just put in front of you. So it looks better. I get your point. It might look better, but there's no way for a human to know, did you really get the job, or can I help you? It takes away our ability to spot any patterns, why would you have a recruiter then? So I'm more worried about that.
So speaking of always looking better, Alex Murphy, you raised your hand.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's, in this discussion, this is Job Board Leaders Roundtable, right? There's a design lesson in here, which is, how do you go about forcing the human that's involved in the workflow? How do you force the human to actually have to make a decision, as opposed to allowing the AI to make a decision? So in that XX% as an example, right? That's a template. So it's, you have to add an extra 2 or 3 clicks, maybe send them a short code via text, validate that this is what you're actually saying and what your intent is, and think through the experience around how do you make sure that you don't just hit the easy button and put up your templated content and inadvertently shoot yourself in the face, right? Like that is, I think, the major thing for anybody who runs anything that has, any kind of platform that has a user interface. I think it's critical to look at these mistakes that designers are making when they're not thinking through the not happy path scenario in terms of, user acceptance and testing and so forth.
It's true. It's also tough, though. It's exactly what Indeed did. Let's raise prices, switch to CPA. I don't disagree with their direction. I just disagree that they were the ones that do it. Their arrogance, their communication. But the truth is, this is kind of where we all are. But it's the same transfer. If you're good and you're actually limiting the number of people who get through, you can make a bunch of money, but you have to raise your prices to do so. And now you're only serving the top part of the market. If you go for volume and you optimize for clicks, you're going to create all these problems. It's a tough question, and each of you has to decide which way that you go. But that is a huge problem for us. What are we optimizing for? Is it just money? If you cut down the number of people that are good, because a lot of people I don't want to do that. I just want to click and get the job. That's a lot of people. It's a huge number of people. If you don't optimize for that, you're going to lose out on them. You don't have volume. If you do, now you've cut off the number of people by 30-40% that you can sell to your clients. And they weren't paying attention before. Now they are, but they're blaming us for quality problems. But that's a tough one. You got to decide. That doesn't work unless you charge a lot more. I'm going way south. I'm going to start giving people 10 people, no more connecting into their background. Here's 10 people, just hire them. But I'm a headhunter at heart. I couldn't do that with a job board, and no big company would do it. So it's a number of interesting ways to go to make money and follow up.
So I think there are parts of what you just said though that are who's leading who? Why do job seekers just go click, click, click? Well, the answer is because
we built it.
99.9% of the time they don't get a response back from the recruiting team.
Mm-hmm.
Right. They've been conditioned and trained into, I want to apply to everything. We jokingly talk about the fact that the career site marketplace has been selling this gigantic lie that your employer value proposition is the thing that you need to hang front and center on your career site. And that's just a bunch of BS.
Yeah,
because
it's been reinforced by
Jason, let's let Alex. Sorry, Alex.
It's a bunch of BS because nobody is doing a deep dive evaluation of a company before they apply. They are doing a deep dive evaluation if you reach back out to them and say, hey, you might be a fit for this job. That is the right time, not before they apply. Go ahead, Jason.
I was just going to say, but it's also a cycle. I think Jim said something about the psychology. I just saw that they're MRIing kids' brains. So it's been reinforced with IG, Meta, things like that. It's a psychology that has been traversed across just on our industry, right? It's a time they just think quick, right? It's the microwave. I'm 55, so it's the microwave ideology, whatever you want to call it.
And now nobody can cook.
Well, we are at time. Jim, on behalf of everybody, thank you so much for your time, sharing your insides, some of the whisperer information. There wasn't too much whispering going on here. There was a little bit of
there's a lot of lecturing. Yeah, sorry about that.
No. It's good. I think again, I don't see this as like an Indeed problem where we're all sitting here saying we're all good and they're bad. I think that this is an industry problem, and hopefully we're still early enough that we can correct course and get back, because these sorts of problems are just, man, they are creating such a tax on employment. They're just making it so much harder for employers to hire and people to get hired into the right roles. It's really awful. A month from now, second Thursday of, I guess it'll be August. Wow. Yaz Dalal from Jovio will be our guest, and we're going to be talking about, I'm going to have to come up with a catchy title, but we're going to be talking about post and pray or ROI. And so hopefully everybody will join us. Those apparently are two different things. And I'm only half joking. But if anybody wants to reach you, Jim, where should they do that?
LinkedIn's probably the best. Or you can just catch me on my website, respondable.io.
Okay. And your LinkedIn URL is?
Jim Durbin. LinkedIn, in.com,
Okay.
in Jim Durbin.
And Respondable, respondable.io. Guys,
I'm addicted to clever names. Yeah.
Awesome. This was super. Thanks everybody. Have a good rest of your July.
Good to see y'all.